Welcome, folks, to another episode of Quiet Please the Golf podcast. And we have got a great panel because it's Ryder Cup recap week. Alan Depew, I was on assignment last week, missed a great one, Andy Hydorn, with almost called you Andy Bonus from another time in my golfing career. I had a Andy Bonus there. But Andy Hydorn joining us once again. You guys had a great show last week.
We had a couple legends of the LPGA Tour on last week, and
legends of the game without question. Also joining us, you were on assignment as well, and I believe you're sitting in State College, PA right now. So you suddenly better have become a Penn State grad. Is Christian Nazamis, pretty a podcaster in golf, and literally, folks, dialing in as I hit record. Bourbon Bob Baldessari joining us once again. Hello, Bobby.
Hey, I feel like John Wood. I'm out here on the golf course.
I was going to say, are you literally doing a podcast from sitting in a golf cart? Is there no more? That's classic.
He's on his easy go.
I'm on an easy go. I'm literally coming down the 10th hole at the Woodford Club. We're getting ready for the LPGA Legends event tomorrow. We've got 9 LPGA Legends Hall of Famers.
Sounds like Bob's been drinking the bourbon.
I was going to say Bob's been drinking the bourbon, and I haven't got to our special guest rounding out the panel tonight. I mean, if there's anybody that was boots on the ground, it's John Wood. Welcome to Quiet Please. It is an absolute pleasure to have you.
Thanks for having me. This will be fun. Picked a good week to come on with what happened last week.
What did anything go on?
I don't know.
I would before we even get started, I'd love to say that John's background was on the PGA Tour. He caddied for Matt Kuchar, Hunter Mahan, Kevin Sutherland, and others. He was in the Olympics for Kuchar's bronze medal. And I think a few years ago when NBC decided to put Bones on as an on-course reporter, I think that really changed the dynamic of watching television golf. And I think that's such a valuable proposition that they did. And now having John on, I think it's just great insight to have you out there giving, through your eyes, what goes on the PGA Tour.
No, I appreciate that. It was all Tommy Roy's idea from the NBC producer. He just, I think he would hear me and Bones while we were caddying and the discussions we would have with our players. And I think he kind of got tuned into there's a lot more there than just 152 9-iron. And that's kind of what I've tried to do is really get across what they're really the kernel of the shot is and what they're trying to get to, the discussions. And because being out there so long, you notice body language, you notice a lot of things from the guys that really doesn't come through on TV. So I just try and get as deep as I can in the amount of time that I have.
Awesome. Andy, I got to interject. Christian's the only one here that get 152 9-iron
anymore. Speak for yourself there, Mr. 60-degree shoulder turn.
I got a big shoulder turn without
it's
question.
A pitching wedge now, Alan.
Yeah, most guys it's a pitching wedge, exactly.
But I can also hit an 8-iron at 150 if I need to. So,
all right, John. We all have a ton of questions. I'm going to come out. I want to jump in first because I'm going to come out from a different angle. I just saw some early returns on the TV ratings, and ratings were down this year compared to the last time overseas in France. And people have even chiming in on Twitter about how it's that's the Tiger effect, which is valid. I got to believe. Do you think it's because maybe a little bit earlier start? Do you think it was because of Europe taking that big lead out of the gate? I mean, got any? I mean, insight out of.
To me, it would be a combination of things. One, obviously, Tiger. Tiger brings in the non-golf fans, which he
is the needle.
Yeah, nobody else brings in those people who aren't normally interested in golf. Obviously, the time it was awful, but I think had the Americans come out and had been 3-1 in the first session, they're up, or 2-2 even, I think it totally changes the week. Because once that happened, and the fact that they won the afternoon session as well, I think people kind of probably tuned out a lot, thinking there's no way, there's no chance. And it was going to lack the buzz that we haven't had at a Ryder Cup for a while on a Sunday. We've had a lot of blowouts lately. So I think it's probably a combination of those things.
Yeah.
I agree completely. I mean, when I woke up in the morning and I saw that we were down 4-0 early, I thought for sure, I was like, does this team have it and they're like in them to fight back? Right. And I think that was the biggest question mark with this team to begin with, was like, one, was it the right team? A lot of people gave Zach Johnson a lot of crap for a few of the picks that he had. I thought watching it, yes. However, I just wish that we got an extra point or two, for that matter, in the 4 balls, because that, like you said, that would have made a huge difference, I think, tremendously.
In the 4
Yeah,
balls
you're
or
absolutely,
the 4
absolutely
subs?
right.
Christian, in the alternate shot or in the 4 balls?
In the foursomes.
And
Yeah.
and the foursomes, yeah.
Yeah. Got it.
Yeah, I think
Even
both
just getting a point.
formats, Americans had some issues closing out matches. They were one up on quite a few coming to 18, and they would lose 18, and that's a huge half point, and those add up quickly. So had the Americans done one of two things: had the Saturday team shown up on Friday, or if they'd closed out those matches that they went to tie on 18, I think it's a different week.
So tell us a little bit about the golf course, because there's a lot of talk about how Luke Donald wanted it set up so that there's not a lot of wedge shots, and that there was a lot of mid irons and longer approach shots into the greens. And do you put a whole lot of credence into that theory and that setup and how it favored the Europeans?
Yes and no. I think it did statistically. Eduardo Molinari was their stats guy. That's his new business now. He does stats. Incredible guy. And that's what the stats were saying, that Americans were much better at wedges. And so Luke tried to design a course that didn't have a lot of wedges. And he did a great job of it. There were a lot of, it seems like 5 to 7 irons and reachable par 5s and drivable par 4s. There weren't a lot of, holes where you just hit a wedge in. So if that was his goal, he did it. He did a good job. That being said, I think the big takeaway for me is 5 weeks off for the Americans, most of the Americans. I think that was it. I mean, I think that was it. I think the Saturday team was ready to fight. They fought in singles. They fought on Saturday. I just don't think they were quite ready to go on Friday. And I can only attribute that to 5 weeks off for a lot of the guys.
I
definitely agree, John. Yeah, that was my big takeaway, that they're just anybody's going to play that first round. You're a little rusty. You start to feel better. And then the back against the wall. So when they came out that last day, and they always play well on singles. I think we really want to ask you your take also on the Ricky Fowler giving the putt there. Game's known as gentlemanly. Ricky's a really nice guy, but in that circumstance, what's your take?
I was shocked. I mean, Brad Faxon said it live as it was going on. No way is that going to be good. And then he picked up the coin. So I think everybody was shocked. Ricky is one of the greatest guys in the world. I haven't talked to him. I think my first thought was, I wonder if he knew if he was mistaken what the situation was. That was my first thought when I saw it, but it didn't seem like he was confused. It seemed like he just kind of decided he was going to give this one. And then I don't know. I don't think most people would have given that putt.
Other than the television people, was there any other talk amongst even the team that, Ricky, what are you doing?
I see. I didn't have any access to the team after the round. It was, such chaos on 18, as you guys saw, and they just go right into the team room. So, in the coming weeks, I'll probably talk to some of the caddies and say, what was the thinking, and, what else was going on in the team room and all that. So, I'm sure there was some head scratching at the fact that he gave that putt, but nothing you can do about it now.
Well, yeah. I don't want to bounce all over from Friday to Saturday to Sunday, but you touched on caddies, so we got to ask the question.
the perfect segue.
Of course.
Yeah, that was. You can tell you're in TV because that was a great segue, John. Thank you. what happened with the?
Oh my gosh. I was right there. I was on the back of the green, and the crowds were very partisan, which they should be. But it got personal with Patrick out there all day. It was a very ugly day for him in terms of what people were saying to him, non-golf related stuff. And he handled it extremely well. He really didn't react all day. He just, stayed laser focused, played great golf, birdied the last 3. And when that happened, the entire American team was on the front of the green. So they took their hats off in tribute to him because he hasn't been wearing a hat, and started whipping it around, which the crowd had been doing to Patrick all day long. I mean, it was just what they decided to key in on Patrick. Joe, when I saw it, I didn't think Joe was that close to Rory's line. He wasn't moving, but Rory was looking at it kind of from the side. He was about 20 feet away. And when Rory came around and Joe was right there, I just think it was a misunderstanding, because I don't think Joe went into Rory. Rory turned around from reading it from the side, and Joe was just there. And once that happened, it maybe looked to feel, I know it felt to Rory like he was going in on him and not leaving his line when he asked him to. And then Shane Lowry got involved from the back of the green, started yelling at Joe. Joe yelled back. I think it was, honestly a big misunderstanding, because I think Joe was mostly facing his teammates, trying to whip his hat and kind of join them in their celebration. And Rory felt he was too close. And that tournament is so emotional. It is from Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday practice rounds, everything is emotional about that week. And in such a big moment, everything's amped up. So I'm sure Rory's adrenaline was going 90 miles an hour, as was Joe's. And it happened. I wish it hadn't, but my understanding is they've texted. I don't think they've talked, but they're both good guys. And I think they both like each other genuinely. It was just the situation got out of control, and it was unfortunate. But it did add a little fun to the Ryder Cup, I will say, at that point.
See, here's a cue when Andy starts leaning in, he wants to make a point, but I'm going to interrupt real quick here, because what did Shane actually say? And the other thing is, I saw today on Twitter a panned out version of the end of that, where Rory and Joe have the conversation. You can see there's a continued dialogue, and then Joe, obviously, you see him wave his hand. But when you pan that camera shot out, you see he's more waving his hand at, it was either Rory's caddy or one of the European caddies who had said something to him also. So
yeah, he was. I know he was. I think Harry Diamond, Rory's caddy, just asked him, Joe, move back. That's out of, you're too close. And that's, Joe was doing that to him, not Rory. But, I think if Joe could do it over with, I think he would still, wave the hat, but maybe not get where he was. I just think the emotions were off the charts right there. And as Joe said to, Shane Lowry, I think just yelled at him, get out of the way. And Joe basically said, we're getting our butts kicked here. I'm going to celebrate the fact that we've done one thing good. So it's just, I think by the next time those two see each other, I think they'll be fine, really.
Yeah, the one thing that I kind of stuck out to me in that whole exchange was, and I saw what you said, John, where, Joe was kind of celebrating a little bit, and I think he got in Rory's way as Rory walked back around to get behind his putt. But then once they said something, it looks like Joe took a couple steps toward Rory again. And to me, that's where it looked a little odd.
Yeah, no, I don't doubt that. And I think he was moving towards Harry because Harry was talking to him as well. But, that's no excuse. I talked to Joe right after it happened, and I haven't talked to him since then. So, like I said, tensions were extremely high. It was a huge emotional moment, and I think they would rather do it over if they could,
I'm sure.
I agree completely, and I'm more curious to see your thoughts on the whole Cantlay situation, because I know that he was in the news a lot this week as well regarding just his like why he's not wearing a hat, that kind of stuff. I don't know if you're allowed to touch on it or not, but that's just my. I mean, because I have my thoughts on it personally, but I'm just kind of curious to see what you think of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's all rumors. We don't know for sure.
Yes, right.
I know he was getting married. He got married on Monday, and he didn't want that tan line for the wedding pictures. I mean, that was one thing that was going around, which makes perfect sense to me. But there was also the rumor about, the money issue coming up. And I have no idea. Honestly, I saw what Xander's dad said about, the players trying to have some leverage in this event. I don't know. I haven't spoken with any of them about it. I'm sure if that did happen, I'm sure they'll expand on it, soon. But for it to happen during the week, obviously it's very unfortunate. That tournament takes a lot of energy, and to let energy go away to something like that, I think was pretty wasteful.
No, I agree, because I genuinely think it is the best tournament to watch, period.
Yeah.
I will put that over any major. I will put it over our own United States Open, any tournament, period. The Ryder Cup is the best hands down tournament to watch.
It's the best everything.
Yeah.
It's the best to commentate. It's the best to caddy. That was President's Cups are fun, but Ryder Cups, it killed you if you weren't in that room on the team. It just, after you've done one, knowing what the week is like, it kills you not to be there for another one. So it's the best tournament in golf. It's the most passionate, most emotional. It brings out some incredible golf in people. And I'm the same. I'm totally with you. It's better than anything else.
Yeah.
And John, I used to work at the PGA headquarters, and I had the all access badge. So I went from one extreme to the other. It was, I feel like some of the unwashed now just walking around. But I wanted to ask you about the situation with Max Homa, and forgive me, I'm blanking on his caddy, but that situation in that cauldron on the 18th hole, and from what I heard from Max was his caddy saying, let's take an unplayable lie, and to think clearly in that situation as a player relying on you to try to think clearly because they're so wound up. I thought that was a really, really great scenario that played out.
Oh, it was incredible. I mean, there's good caddying and there's great caddying. That was great caddying to think of that option. Because the ball, when I saw the ball, my immediate thought was, this is missable. I mean, even if you were just trying to chip it into the bunker or chip it to the front of the green, there's no way he could have gone at the hole, because it would have come out so hot just to get it out of that lie. It would have gone in the water. So while they're going through that, and Max is trying to taking stances here and there and trying to decide what to do, I think Joe Greiner, Joe Greiner, just a good player, great caddy, great guy. He was, we're able as caddies, I think a good caddy is able to stay unemotional about the shot. Players have feels. We don't have any feels. It's all data driven, or here's what we see. And when he was thinking, when they started talking about chipping it out or just knocking it down into the bunker, I think that's when the light went on to him, and he looked right behind there. There was a fairly bare spot, and he said, why would we even try that when we can be guaranteed a pitch shot from here? And I think that's when Max immediately light went on for him as well. But to come up with that decision, to talk your man into it, it was one of the best caddy calls in a pressure situation I've ever seen.
Well,
Strong play.
So that leads into what something you touched on. You just mentioned it again. Put it into words you've already highlighted it for our listeners. For someone who's not been there, Bobby is Mr. All Access back in his days. What's it like to be in that pressure cooker? I mean, what's it like to have 20,000 fans giving you an ole on the first tee box?
It's like nothing. It's like a SEC football game that you're playing golf at. I mean, that's really what it feels like. It's the only tournament I was ever nervous on a Tuesday, because every hole is lined 5 deep on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, all the practice rounds. But the special thing about the week, and I think this is what makes it so special is week in, week out, it's you and your player. And that's it. I mean, you root for your buddies here and there if they're in contention, but it's just such a lonely experience, a solo experience. But, once a year, either President's Cup or Ryder Cup, you get to really get inside your peers' heads, both the caddies, the players. How do they prepare? What do they think of this hole? You get to know them much better as people because you spend every moment together as a team. You're eating every meal together. And if there's any outings, you're walking the courses together. And I think just that being on a team and playing for something else and somebody else is just such a special feeling. One of the most unforgettable, probably the most unforgettable moment of my career was being out with Hunter when we were out last against Graham McDowell, and the matches completely came down to that one match. We were 2 down. I think Hunter birdied 15, and then hit the horrible chip on 17, which, it happened. That being said, if I could change the outcome, I would, but I wouldn't have changed that experience for anything. At one point, with about 5 holes to go, every single player, every person on the property, everybody's with that group. And, you try and stay in your own little bubble, which I think we were able to do for the most part. But the experience, I wouldn't trade that experience for anything. At one point, I thought, how many people get to caddy with the Ryder Cup on the line? It was pretty special. And even though, Hunter ended up losing that match and we lost the Ryder Cup, it was, I can't explain what those weeks meant to me and mean to most people.
So 2-part question for you. How many different Ryder Cups did you caddy in?
7.
7. Wow.
7. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. 2 wins with Hunter at Valhalla and with Cooch at Hazeltine.
Wow.
Then I worked for Chris Riley and Mark Calcavecchia as well at different Ryder Cups.
So second part of the question is, after being, on the bag during Ryder Cups and then now being inside the ropes reporting, has your view of the event changed? Has it heightened? I mean, give me a little insight of that dynamic.
Yeah, it hasn't changed my thoughts on the event. It's still the biggest thing in golf. I mean, guys want them in majors, obviously, but in terms of what it feels like, what the pressure's like, it's like every hole is the 18th hole at a major. That's what it feels like. And like I said, the emotions you get to share with other people, I think make what makes it so special. So doing what I do now, that's the one week I truly miss caddying because to be in there, it's something else. I think everybody raises their level a little bit, or tries to at least. And but yeah, it hasn't changed at all in my mind as a commentator. I still know it's the biggest thing that in golf, most likely, and more people love to watch the Ryder Cup than anything else. So it's still, my favorite event, bar none, to do, caddying or announcing for.
Yeah.
So how different when you were with Hunter, right? How different was he Ryder Cup week as opposed to a major, as opposed to like just a normal event?
Yeah,
what's his mindset as far as
that's a great question, Christian.
Yeah,
I'm just curious now. I know he probably prepared more for a Ryder Cup, but I'm just curious.
It's a great question because I'll tell you right now, the 2 wins that we had, Cooch at Hazeltine and Hunter at Valhalla, the preparation is a little bit captain dependent. Zinger came in and Davis in 2016 came in we had a team meeting Monday night, all the players and caddies only. And Zinger said, here is what we're doing. These are the 3 guys you're going to play with. That's it. So not having to learn 12 guys and 12 golf balls, and I mean, there's not that many difference, makes a huge difference because all of a sudden you go, okay, we got 3 practice rounds, whether we play 18 or 9, we can hit Justin Leonard's ball, we can hit Phil's ball, and we can hit Anthony Kim's ball because those are the only 3 guys we were going to play with. So to learn those and have it in our head that that's who we might play with, what made it so easy to prepare. I think guys used to over prepare for Ryder Cups in terms of the week of. They'd get to Friday and they'd had an extra day on Thursday, and it was just like 18 holes, 18 holes, 18 holes, 18. Nobody does that anymore. Usually both teams do 18 the first day they're there, and then 9 and 9. It is it's such a week that takes so much energy that as a caddy, I was always wary or very mindful of what Hunter was doing or what Cooch was doing, and saying, hey, let's get out of here. You're going to play 36 tomorrow. And, I'd rather have you fresh than, having you stay here 3 more hours to find a swing key. You're playing good enough. Let's be fresh tomorrow and go get them. So yeah. And it's kind of fun playing practice rounds and those things. Week in, week out, they aren't very fun, but that, you get little games going with your teammates, and they are fun. So it takes some discipline to not be exhausted come Friday morning.
And John, you talked about the special nature of the team, the Ryder Cup. It is every 2 years, so it's like sort of that Super Bowl feeling. Do you think there could or should be more team competitions, even one other time during the year? It used to be, I grew up watching the J.C. Penney Team Classic. I thought that was pretty cool, and then that went away. But, the idea of on the PGA Tour, one event, I know the match play, I think, is going away. It's gone away, but something team event, because the guys really do seem to like that.
Yeah. I think that was one of the reasons they started the President's Cup as kind of obviously when it started, the international squad was unbelievable with Norman and VJ and Ernie Els all in their prime. So I think that the fact that the Americans do play on a team every year, whereas the Europeans every other year and the internationals every other year, it can do one of two things. One, it can get you used to the team atmosphere in the President's Cup, or it can tire you out of the team event. You don't want to play one every year. Playing it's not the problem. The problem is making the team. There's so much pressure on making a team, and you want to be on the team so bad, it gets in your head. And whether it's President's Cup or Ryder Cup, you want to be on those teams. And the fact that, I'm not making excuses, but I think the fact that the Americans have the pressure every year to make a team, it can get tough. Whereas the Europeans and the internationals every other year, they've got to, bow up and have really good years to make the team. So yeah, I wouldn't add another team event. We got the Grant Thornton coming back, which is going to be like the J.C. Penney mixed team event. I'm not exactly sure what that format is yet. I'm devastated the match play is going away, because that to me is one of the funnest weeks of the year. I'm hoping somebody decides to pick up that format again, because I think it's fantastic. But I don't know. I don't know. I'm bummed that's going away. And but that would be my take on the whole situation.
Hey, John, you touched on, the U.S. being flat. I think we all recognize that, and some of the other components. Let's talk about the positive side. Luke Donald did an amazing job, I think, in orchestrating, running his team, managing his team. And I'll point to one thing specific, which is Matty Fitz. And putting him out in 4-ball as opposed to foursomes right out of the gate, where he could just free swing, and especially pairing him with Rory. Is that, you've been a caddy, you've been on the bag. Foursomes is hard, and it's tough.
It is, because it's so hard to get into a rhythm.
Putting the rookies out in the 4-ball seems to make a lot of sense.
Yeah, I agree. Just to get them into the tournament in the situation, play their own ball, only their own ball, play golf like they normally play, I think is a great way to send rookies in. Alternate shot is such a specialist. It's such a specialized skill, because you'll go 5 or 6 holes without hitting a putt. You'll go 5 or 6 holes because of the makeup of the course without hitting a driver on a hole. You hit one 3 hours ago. Now all of a sudden you've got to hit one more because all the other holes you teed off on weren't driver holes. It's a tough format. It's a really tough format. Not only that, but there's kind of a rule in team golf: no apologies. because you don't want to feel like you're letting your teammate down. He knows you're trying as hard as you can. And if you're putting it in bad spots, you just don't want, you just play as hard as you can, and you can't apologize for anything. But yeah, it is a hard format to find a good partner. No question about it.
And I'm not obviously wasn't suggesting Fitzy is a rookie, but I mean, he has certainly struggled.
0-5. I mean, I think I was one of my keys of the week. I thought if he lost his first match, I think they would have been in some trouble, because it just builds and builds and builds, at one Ryder Cup, not to mention, this being his third, and he hadn't even gotten a half point yet. But during a Ryder Cup, if you are out in a match, and even if you tie the match, you want to win it, obviously, but it's a tremendous relief going, okay, I put something on the board for us, and if you don't win your first match, it builds and builds and builds, going, oh my God, I'm 0-2 now. Oh my God. And the pressure gets immense because you just want to contribute. So yeah, him going out in 4 balls and playing great, obviously with Rory, was a huge key for them.
So what are your thoughts? Oh, go ahead, Andy.
Okay. We talked about the kind of layoff before, 30 days, and for the US team anyway. And one of the hardest things about golf is that every day is different, right? And even players at that level go through spurts of good play and spurts of play where they're struggling a little bit. And, where somebody was with their game 30 days ago isn't necessarily where they're going to be 30 days from now, right?
It's a long time.
It's a long time. And my question is, as the week develops, the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, there's got to be a lot of talk and a lot of discussion amongst the captains and co-captains, assistant captains, as to who's in good form, right? Because I know there was a lot of talk that Brian Harman was really, really looking good leading up to the matches, and you just wonder how poorly how poorly Jordan played. It just seems like that plays a big role in what happens come Friday.
Yeah, I completely agree. The Europeans were ready to go. And I didn't find this out until Zinger brought it up on the air, but all their matches in the practice rounds, they were playing 2-man, 3-hole matches to the immediacy of getting up in a match. So just 3, you only have 3 holes, got to win them. I think sometimes in match play, you just get started and say, okay, here we go. I hope I win the first hole, but it's not necessary. But I think that sense of urgency was huge for them. And yeah, I think hindsight's 2020. I think if Zach had to do it over again, the one thing he would change is tell his whole team, maybe not Jordan, because he was having a baby. I mean, his wife's having a baby, so you understand that. But I think looking back, I think Zach would have told the whole team, you're all playing Napa 2 weeks before the event. Like Justin Thomas played it because he kind of had to. He hadn't played the playoffs even, and he played well there. But I think that layoff, it took some. You can play practice rounds, but it's not the same. And I think Thursday they had a lot of rust to knock off, or Friday, I mean, they had some rust to knock off, and it cost them to get behind like that. It was it. And I think if Zach could do one thing different, I think that would be it. So just say, guys, we're all going to play Napa. We're going to be paired together. Maybe even we're going to stay together. We're going to get one big house and just kind of get started that way. But like I said, hindsight's 2020. He trusted his guys, and I'm sure the guys worked and practiced and prepared, but there's something about playing in tournaments when it really counts, when it really matters. It's just a little different.
Yeah, 100%. I even like that moving forward. I actually like that idea. Even going overseas, for that matter, playing in a tournament on the European tour.
Yeah.
Right? Get acclimated to the time change, for that matter. But I when I look at this team, I don't think any of them had necessarily their best stuff per se. But I will say that Max Homa, I thought, was our Captain America this year.
Oh,
by
MVP.
far.
Yeah,
By
MVP.
far.
Yeah,
Yep.
not even close.
For a rookie, he
yeah.
played amazing.
It's so, I mean, there's 2 ways as a rookie. Obviously, playing as a rookie at home is fun. It's obviously you get amped up, but the crowd's for you. To play as a rookie on the road is so hard because you're experiencing things you've never experienced before. They're booing you. They are upset when you hit a good shot. They cheer when you hit a bad shot. And Max was just, I mean, every part of his game. I think those 2 matches he won with Brian Harmon didn't say one thing about himself. He just said, my partner, it's been a pleasure watching Max play golf this week. He's been on fire. And I think he was definitely the best player, by far the best player on the American team.
So in the locker room,
and he played Napa.
Yeah.
You can make the room. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, you could make the argument that he and Justin Thomas probably played the best on the team. Justin's record might not show that, but he, had a couple losses with Jordan when Jordan didn't play very well.
Or play at all.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, you could make the argument, I think, very easily that the 2 guys who played Napa were the 2 best players on the team.
Yeah, I actually agree, because I was very adamant, as these 3 guys know, that I definitely thought JT should not have been on that team, and I really don't think Sam Burns should have been on that team. But JT did prove me wrong. He did play very well. But I guess my final question was kind of like, in the locker room, right, up or down, what's that message really like from Zach? Like, what do you think his message was to them, right, after being down early and on the first day, honestly never leading at all? Is his message the same, do you think, throughout the week, or do you think it would be slightly different?
It was interesting, just as a parallel, the team in Melbourne for Tiger's team. I mean, Friday afternoon, it looked like we were going to be down 8-2 or 9-1 even. That was possible. And then JT made that putt on 18 and Cantlay made the putt on 18 in their matches to get the full points, but it was still 7-3. And Tiger didn't change at all. He just, he kept saying, look, there's more points available in our President's Cup, but I think Zach probably emphasized, guys, there's 28 points available this week, and we just played 4 of them. There are 24 points still out there. We are not out of this by any means. And I don't think he probably changed up his pairings because that it's so analytical now, and they pick partners, 4 partners. It used to be more fly by the seat of your pants. Hey, you won in the morning, you're going in the afternoon, now it's all planned out from the get-go. And, on paper, it's right. I think maybe we've gotten a little too in love with statistics, and I like a little, I got a hunch about these 2. I'm sending them out. So yeah, I think maybe we could back off the statistics a touch and go with a little more feel.
Hey, John, at my golf club, I'll walk through the clubhouse grill. Members usually looking at TV, and they'll go, "Hey, Bob, what do you think they're talking about meeting the player and caddy?" So I give him my take, but just take us in the sort of in that little sequence and you could pick maybe something with Hunter or a shot, and it's 172 yards and it's a hanging lie, and just, sort of talk through what you guys are thinking about.
After they hit their tee shots, I think every good caddy immediately goes to that next one. Have an idea where the ball is, have an idea what the yardage is going to be, what the lie is going to be. Before the round, you would have known where the pin is. If we get in trouble, these are things that caddies thinking about to his head the entire way to the ball. What is going to be the key to this shot? If we're in great shape, all I'm thinking about at that point is, what is the carry number going to be? What is the no wind flat carry number going to be? Because that's the last thing I'm going to tell them. It's playing 183. Then when you get to the ball, it's different for different players, but basically you start with a front number and then give him the total number. And then you try and boil down, but the key number here is we need to carry. Okay, you got 172 front and 11, 183. The key number here is 176. We have to cover that bunker 176 over that. So to try and boil it down to that, you already have an idea of what club you think it is. And you hope that he comes to you. You have to let the player present what he thinks to you first. You can't say, it's just perfect 7-iron, hit it. He's got to come to you first. And if you agree, which is most of the time, just let him go. You love it, put your best swing of the day on it. Let's go. If you disagree, there's 2 kinds of disagreements. One, did you think of this shot? that one you're talking about could work. But I think this one might be a little bit easier and the penalty isn't quite as much. And then there's the other one where he's wrong and 100% he's got the wrong club, he's got the wrong shot. And then you bring data into it. You just say, you got 172 downhill a touch. It's going to play 163 with the helping wind. Okay. 8-iron. No. And here's why. 2 holes ago, we hit the exact same direction with a 9-iron and you carried it 162. That's perfect right now. So it's all data at that point. If it's a feel, a lot of times you just, I think Bones is great at this, presenting the other option and just saying, I see that shot you're talking about, but what would you think? There's also this available to you. And sometimes they don't see it and it clicks in. Oh yeah, that is an easier shot. Or if I miss my shot, I'm in deep trouble. If I miss this shot, I'm not. So that's what a lot of it is, just going through the situation. And the great thing about caddies is they can be unemotional about the shots. It's all data. It's all, here is what it is. And if a player's got a feel, you kind of got to let them go because, when you play golf, if you get a feeling, it doesn't make any sense that I can get this 9-iron there, but I know it's a 9-iron. So you go with it. And if they have that feel, you got to let them go because ultimately they're making the swing. But that's kind of what most of the conversations are about over the ball.
Excellent.
Andy? You're muted. He hit the mute button. My God, at least he's not.
Sorry.
John, at least one time every show he freezes. So I mean, at least
I rebooted before the show, so
he's back. He's back.
So I have to stray from the Ryder Cup for 1 second because I'm dying to hear your opinion on this. So let's go back to the Masters on the 15th hole with Brooks Koepka and Gary Woodland. And we're talking about, but for the listeners, Brooks hit first, his second shot into 15, and he flashed a hand signal to Woodland's caddy, and then Brooks's caddy flashed a hand signal to Woodland's caddy, and then Brooks flashed it to Gary Woodland. And there was a lot of talk about, well, it's no big deal, it happens all the time, because they're signaling to the course reporters, blah blah blah. But at the end of the day, when they're signaling to the course reporters, that's one thing. If you're purposefully trying to give information to the guy you're playing with, that's another. What's your take on this?
Yeah, it was a tough situation. I love Ricky and I'm good friends with, or not good friends, but I know Brooks well. It looks suspicious. And when I'm in, I think a lot of guys in those situations will do things like, I'll clean the club facing you so you can see it. I'm not going to mouth it. I'm not going to flash it to you. If I flash it to a TV reporter and it's obvious there's an on-course reporter there, and somebody else happens to see it, that's what happens all the time, and that's fine. But that one was tough. I think most guys either let you see it while you're cleaning it, or just put it back in the bag and let you come take a look at it if they want to look. The information is gathered a lot. It's not given a lot like that. And that was a tough one. And at the end of the day, it's an honor issue. And you have to take, if the player and the caddy say one thing, it's hard to say we disagree. And here's your penalty. Because it's a lot of it is, I wasn't doing that, and you have to trust the player on it. That's what this game is,
Even when you're caught red-handed doing it.
Yeah, it was a tough one for sure.
Okay, so that brings us right to the hot seat. So
all right.
that was just a warm-up for you.
Oh man, now I'm sudden death playoff now.
Yep. So before we start these questions, for our listeners, John actually played golf at UC Berkeley as well. So he can golf his ball as well as do all the other things in the sport that he's done. So what's your lowest 18-hole score, John?
66.
66. What are your 3 favorite golf courses you've played?
Ooh, wow, what a good question. Olympic Club, Riviera.
Tell us you're from California without
I
telling
was
Yeah,
gonna say, where-
exactly, right?
Yeah.
Gosh. I have to have played it, right?
Yep.
Okay, okay. You know, it's I know Pebble's Pebble, but I love Spyglass. I think Spyglass is just one of the best golf courses in the world. So I'll say those 3.
Okay. Now 3 that you would love to play that you haven't played.
Augusta National, St. Andrews Old Course, and Shinnecock.
I could get you on 2 of those. So name the 3 best players of all time in no order.
Tiger Woods, Ben Hogan, Jack Nicklaus.
All right. What's the best part of your game?
I'll tell you the honest truth is I have played 1 round, and that was 3 weeks ago in the last 5 years.
Wow.
I have I get time off. I kind of don't want to be on a golf course, even though it's different when you're playing. I have a lot of other stuff I like to do. And I like going out and hitting balls for an hour, chipping and putting, and then calling it a day. But to go play 18 holes is it's very hard for me right now. It's just like there's just a lot of things I like doing.
So back when you were playing golf, what was the best part of your game?
I was a really good driver. I hit it really long, you know, back in the Persimmon and Bellata days. That was probably hitting the driver.
What was the worst part of your game?
My temper.
Good one.
I had a fantastic temper when I played.
You don't strike me as the temper guy, but
You know, only at myself. Honestly, I don't get mad. I'm pretty calm in most situations, but for some reason, golf got me fired up.
so what skill, in your opinion, is most important to playing great golf?
Not trying to be perfect. You know, it's just it's the cancer of the game, trying to be perfect. There's so many people you see come and go on tour who you look at the golf swing and go, there is nowhere you would change. He can't hit a bad shot, but he can't play unless he feels like everything is perfect. And that rarely happens, as you guys know. Being able to put up a score when you don't have your A game is the biggest thing you can do.
That's a long list of names, right? Verplank, Duval. We could keep going.
Sure. Yeah.
And frankly, when we do this hot seat, we get some of the best answers to that question because
I'll bet.
you know, it's very easy for someone to just say, oh, if you're a great putter, then you're going to play good golf.
Yeah.
We get more introspective answers on that question, and yours was certainly right up there. So PGA Tour or Live?
That's an easy PGA Tour. No brainer.
So who's your favorite golfer, past or present?
Ben Hogan.
Ben Hogan.
Yep. I was a very much Hogan disciple in my playing days. I still think the amount of majors he won for the amount of majors he played is right up there with anybody's. And I just love how he was kind of the first person to dissect the golf swing. And I love that aspect of him. That's probably why I like the range more than playing these days.
I just want to throw that out there, John.
Yep. There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, that was a great last question to wrap up the hot seat. So well played.
Thanks, guys.
I will bring it up that we are now on number 18, 18th hole, final thoughts. Christian, we shall start with you. We're gonna actually save John to the end.
I feel honored that I go first. Usually I
Yes.
go last, so I feel honored. It's probably because I've been on assignment for the last month and I haven't
Well,
seen you boys in quite some time.
I was afraid
So-
if I didn't throw it over to you that you'd be gone again.
You'd leave.
Right.
Hey, I'm sorry. Work duty calls. I gotta travel for work, but it's been a while since I've said it. But continue, guys. Please follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We're gonna have amazing guests come on the show, just like John did as well. So, John, from me, thank you very much for coming on. I could listen to you talk all day, and I'm sure there'll be 1,000 questions that I forgot to ask you, but hopefully we can stay in touch, and maybe we can ask those questions down the road, or even have you back on for that matter.
Anytime. I would love that.
I appreciate it. And so yeah, continue to follow us, guys. We have a lot of great stuff coming as well. And hopefully we can get John on an actual golf course that's not work related. Hopefully we can get a little, mini tournament going on for fun. So that's my final thought. And I'll kick it over to Bourbon Bob.
All right. Hey, John, thanks so much. My final thought, actually going to kind of sort of tee it up to you with a question, but my dad was a PGA member, second generation PGA member, been around the game a long time. One of the really, truly unique and wonderful aspects about playing golf is with a caddy. And every time a friend, a colleague, a member of the club plays somewhere and they play with a caddy, they go, that's just the greatest thing ever. And it is a shame that the caddy has gone out of the day-to-day in the business and part revenue. But anybody listening out there that wherever they are in their stage of life might want to be a caddy and aspire to the PGA Tour, what advice do you have for them? And, that the more and more, you got to admit there's some pretty good money out there, but for the love of the game and wanting to caddy, what's your advice for that?
Yeah, you would never these days, you would never be able to come out and start on the PGA Tour unless you're like a college teammate of somebody who got their card, or a brother or something like that. Go to the mini tours if you can, afford it. Go to the mini tours, Canadian tour, obviously, and find a player you believe in, and find out if he's available and take that ride with him. That's the only way to get to the highest level these days. Like I said, unless you are a college teammate or a brother or a cousin or something like that. So if you're really interested, college events, or amateur events, sit in the parking lot and find a kid you believe in, and take the ride.
Good advice. Thank you.
Sure.
Mr. Hydorn.
Yeah, so I want to talk a little bit about the captain praising and bashing. Because at the end of the day, it's really hard, right? I mean, like when the picks are made, people are willing to bash the captain 30 days from the event because of the people they picked. And at the end of the day, it's a situation of it's the man in the arena, the gladiator, right, in the Coliseum. And that's what these players are going through playing in the Ryder Cup. And, it's so easy for somebody on Monday morning to say, well, oh my God, Bryson or DJ or Tony Finau or Lucas Glover would have been better. You know what? Anybody who wasn't there always would have been better, because you didn't have to see him suffer through all the pressure in the dealings of playing under that microscope at the Ryder Cup. So, again, being critical of the captains. And look, I was bitching a little bit when Zach kept wanting to play Jordan after Jordan didn't really want to play, or acted like he didn't want to play. But again, it's too difficult to know which players are going to perform in that arena. And the Europeans in the home field advantage thing, the Europeans did a great job. They played well. I looked at the strokes gained stats today. The top 4 strokes gained people in the Ryder Cup were Euros. 4 of the bottom 6 were Americans. So it's the players playing good. And all that being said, there was a point coming down the stretch the last day where the Americans had leads in 4 or 5 or maybe 6 matches. And then the last 2 matches, they needed to flip and they were 1 down at that point in time. There was an opportunity for them to win the Ryder Cup, albeit a small one. But, again, ease up on the bashing and the applauding of the captains, because they're just there to do a good job and make it a good experience for their players.
And like I said, I'm saving John. and by the way, you're dead on, Andy. I'm saving John till he was boots on the ground, so he gets to go last. Mine is a 3-point bullet points real fast. I've already graduated him to just a one name, Ludwig. That kid is insanely good. I can't wait to watch his progression in golf. Bethpage will be insane. I can't even imagine what the New York fans are going to do to the European team there. It will be, I can't wait to hop the Long Island Expressway and go out there, to be quite honest with you. And John, I will throw it partially over to you by my final thought, which is that golf shot by Rory on Saturday, down on 17, below the hill, to put so much juice on that thing and was incredible. I thought that was one of the coolest shots of the week.
Yeah, I mean, I have to second that. I mean, I think I said on the air, it wasn't for that level player. It wasn't a difficult shot to play it like that with so much style. Massive points to Rory.
I worked for early in my career. I worked for a guy who played the PGA Tour back in the 70s, and he was explaining how he would play shots like that. And the whole time Rory's setting up like that, I'm like, he's going to hit this thing low and just juice the hell out of it. And he did.
Yeah. It's insane. Yeah. Insane. I agree. That was one of the coolest shots of the week, especially the situation. All right.
So final thought, wrap up the Ryder Cup for us, sir.
I'm gonna flash forward to Bethpage because I'm worried about that one too. The last couple I love partisanship in the Ryder Cup. It's the one time you play golf, where you're not loved by everybody, and I think that's great. I absolutely loved it when you quieted down a crowd, you won a match on the road. It is thrilling. So I'm not saying I don't want the partisanship. I wish both teams would get together leading into one of these and really make it a point to try and get rid of the personal attacks on the course during these events. There's no place for it. It's not necessary. Your team doesn't want you to do that. There's no way Rory was happy that people were treating Cantlay with that. They don't want that. They want partisanship. They want cheer for bad shots. That's fine. But I was having this discussion with Martin Keimer's caddy on Twitter right after. And I said, the problem I have is those players can't bring their 10-year-old kids out to watch them play at a Ryder Cup because they're going to be insulted and treated obscenely if they're on the road. That's so sad that's not within reason. The players can handle it, but for the families to hear that stuff, I'm just tired of it. And I wish somebody would get together and make it a big talking point leading into, and Bethpage would be the perfect one to do it. And secondly, I wish when people do say the bad things, because it's 5% of the people at most, I wish other people would point them out and toss them right away. No second chances. No, hey, none of that. You're out. You're gone. So, I would love to see Ryder Cups get back to stay competitive, stay partisan, but not as personal as they have been the last few go-arounds.
And I agree with that. John,
before we sign off, I just want to shout out to our friend Mike Padilla for making the connection with John. So
absolutely.
Thanks, Mike.
And hey, Mike. My pleasure, guys.
John, thank you so much. Andy, Bobby, as always, and Christian, if you ever stop working so much and play golf again, hit it long and straight.
Because it beats Andy hitting it short and crooked.
Ooh.
Ouch.